Welcome to The Stacks, a podcast about books and the people who read them. I'm your host, Tracy Thomas, and it is the Stacks Book Club Day, and the wait is finally over. We are diving headfirst into our first ever Russian classic. That's right, it is Anna Karenina time. We brought back Jenny Lee, author of Anna K, a modern-day retelling of Anna Karenina, and her latest book, Anna K Away, to help us break down this behemoth of a novel. There will be spoilers, so if you haven't read Anna Karenina yet and you don't want to know what happens, pause this now and go read about 811 to 1,000 or so pages, depending on your edition, and then come back. We'll be here. Be sure to listen to the end of today's episode to find out what our book club pick will be for June. And you'll tune in next week to find out who our guest is for that discussion. If you're a fan of The Stacks and want to participate in our monthly virtual book club, join our community of other book lovers and get discounts on merch, head over to Patreon to join the Stacks Pack. Go to patreon.com/thestacks. I could not make the show without the incredible humans of the Stacks Pack. And this week I'm giving a special shout out to some of our newest members: Kelsey Marshall, Marissa, Dina Samimi, Christine Mandeville, Kendra Armour, Caitlin Burke, Annie, Brinda Guramuthi, Nicole Thomas, and Naima Ibrahim. Thank you all so much for your support of this podcast. All right, now it's what you've all been waiting for, our discussion with Jenny Lee about Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina. All right, everybody, I'm so excited. Can you tell? I'm sitting here in the same room looking at the beautiful, wonderful, genius Jenny Lee, author of Anna K and Anna K Away. We're talking about Anna Karenina today. Jenny, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here too.
This is like the best day of my life. I feel like I recorded a podcast in person for 2.5 years and then didn't. And now having you here is just like,
It's amazing. This is our first time meeting, but we met on Instagram.
Yeah, for so long,
long ago,
at the beginning of the pandemic nightmare. Okay, so we're talking about Anna Karenina. We've both read it. People listening, we're gonna spoil the book, so if you haven't read it, pause. You have about 800 to 1,000 pages ahead of you, depending on your edition, and then come back. And if you don't care and you're never going to read it, then listen and enjoy us talking about this book. So we always start in the same place. What do you think of Anna Karenina? I mean, I feel like you're going to have a more complicated answer than just generally, but go ahead, give it a shot.
I've always loved this book. I read it when I was 15. So now I've read it 3 times, but this last time, just recently, I listened to the audiobook for the first time with Maggie Gyllenhaal?
Yeah.
Gyllenhaal.
I say Gyllenhaal.
Okay, Gyllenhaal. She did an excellent job. So it was really such a different experience to hear it. So I want to know what you think, because you're a first-time reader.
I'm a first-time reader. I have a lot of thoughts. I thought it was a fine book.
Okay.
I was not as impressed as I was hoping that I would be. I have a lot of problems with the ending. Part 8.
Yes.
Is bullshit. I mean, just to spoil it right off the bat, I don't understand how you can kill your quote unquote main character in part 7 and then have part 8 have like 6 sentences about that. And then everyone just moves on and talks about like your dead brother's book or whatever, or your living brother's book. Like, it just really pissed me off. So I had a lot of feelings about that. And I know everyone thinks it's really juicy. I thought it would be more juicy.
I know, because everything that you've seen, or obviously reading Anna K, but obviously like any movie you've seen, it's always all they center is like the juicy part, right?
Yeah.
And that book is 800 plus pages. And I feel like their story is like less than everyone else's story.
I agree.
Yes.
Like, one of my main questions that I wanted to talk about today is, do you think that Anna Karenina is the main character of this book?
I think she's the center of the book. I mean, in terms of main character, Levin is Tolstoy. Like, I think that he's using that as his spokesperson or his mouthpiece. So I think as a man,
right,
he was just wanting to spout out all of his thoughts on every single thing, right?
Yes.
Like you learned everything that he thinks about agriculture, politics. So many details.
And then, 1,000%. I think like Levin is hit. This is sort of a weird connection, but did you see the movie this year, The Trial of the Chicago 7?
The Aaron Sorkin?
Yeah. I felt like Aaron Sorkin. I feel like Leo Tolstoy and Aaron Sorkin are the same. You know, like they're like, let me tell you about everything I've ever thought. And like, let me tell you every single word possible about this one topic. And I'm going to put it through the voice of my character. But really, it's just me. And I'm just going to have Eddie Redmayne say everything I think about liberals. And like, it's that same vibe of like, we're talking about something, but really I'm telling you what I think about politics.
Like everything. Yeah. Everything. He really, you know, this book was actually serialized. It came out in a magazine in those 8 parts before it turned into a novel. So, but then I was like, wow, there's some slow episodes. Do you know what
like,
I mean?
Imagine reading this and getting to part 3 and being like, it's a no for me, Leo. Like the grain. I cannot tell you how many people on Instagram were like, it's sort of getting slow about like
agriculture.
Grain. I mean, I was like, yeah, just skim, keep going.
I know. I guess, you know, I was thinking about it, you know, obviously listening to it again and knowing. And then when I read it when I was 15, right, my sister had taken Russian lit and she sent it to me and I was grounded for like forever, basically.
Okay.
I borrowed the parents' car without permission. It was bad.
Awesome.
I had nothing to do. So I read it and I did a deep dive, but I mean, I'm sure I skipped over all of that stuff.
Do you remember that from your first read?
No, I only remember the Anna Vronsky stuff. I don't remember caring about Kitty or Levin and Dolly. I mean, any of them.
Any of it.
Really, I only sort of remember that tragic thing. And the book is much, much sadder and more tragic for Anna than Anna K ever is, you know, etc. So I think that really stuck with me because I was like a teen and so into angst and terror and sadness. So I think it just was like my thing at the time.
Yeah. I skimmed some of the Levin stuff because I think you warned me.
Yes.
And then I think someone else, when I announced the book, was like, there's a lot of stuff that's like pretty boring. And I was like, okay, I have to read this book. I'm going to power through. And I know myself and I don't really like fiction. And so when I got to stuff that I was like, this is weird, I just was like, okay, grain, wheat. Okay, he's cutting the lawn, like go. And then it would be like, Anna. And I'd be like, yes, I made it through.
Did you get to the part though when he was cutting the grain and then he was like going through all these things because he was so in love with like Kitty still and he was all sad and mopey about it. And then he was thinking like, oh, should I marry a peasant girl and all that? And then he saw her though.
Yeah. And she's like,
and then there's that one moment that it reawakens everything. So it's like these tiny moments of like great romance, but it's like buried in the thing, which is what I was noting when I was listening to it. And I was like, oh wow, there really is a lot.
There's a lot. There's pages. Well, so the other thing that I did, which I so rarely do, but I do it when I read my Shakespeare, is that I also was looking at the Cliff's Notes.
Okay.
So after I would read a section, I would go into my Cliff's Notes and read it just to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Like that if there was parts where I was sort of getting bored and going fast, that I would go back and read the Cliff's Notes just to make sure. And a lot of the Cliff's Notes skim over that shit too. It's like Levin's in the fields working with peasants. Then he sees Kitty, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, that's actually 9 chapters.
Yeah.
Like, so what are we doing?
He has the most real estate by far. For sure.
For sure. I mean, I feel like he's the protagonist. I mean, he's the emotional protagonist. I think that like Anna and Vronsky and who I was calling Mr. K because the other Alexei, I don't know. They move the story. Like Levin, there's not a lot of movement in his story. Right. But I feel like, I mean,
he's the moral center of like, I'm the judgment of like everybody. Yeah. And then apparently this story came about, especially the Anna stories, because there was some woman who had an affair that did kill herself by train, and that in his like neighborhood or wherever he lived, etc. And so that he became obsessed with that story of the tragedy of this woman. So it
really is like his story and then his obsession. Right. That's so interesting. I mean, it makes sense.
And his judgment of like her, right? Basically, like, because that was like, she kind of had no other choice. She was a fallen woman. That's what makes it so sad to me, right? Is that like how badly her life spiraled out by, you know.
Right. It's interesting that you say that now, because now I'm thinking about some of the scenes that like stuck out in my mind and thinking like, oh, that makes sense why this scene would be so weird. Like, for example, one of the scenes that I still can't stop thinking about is when Anna and Mr. K are like in the carriage or whatever, and he's like, what's going on? And she's like, you're right, I don't like you, I'm fucking this other guy, and I can't stand you, and you disgust me. And I was like, whoa, like I feel like you could have said that a little nicer. Like I don't think he deserved all of that. And now when you're saying that, it makes sense, because Tolstoy's probably like, what would this woman say? Like, how would she say it? And, you know, like, he's just like scandalizing the situation, because that really, like, there's a few scenes like that where it really stood out to me as like, I don't know that that's how that would go.
I think what was missing is that you didn't have the context of like enough of Anna and her husband's history, their romantic history, which is she was much younger than he was, right? They said somewhere like he's 20 years her senior or something. So you have to think that like maybe she married at 19 or something and he was like close to 40.
Kitty was like 16,
right?
And she had gone like a few seasons before Kitty.
Right.
But I think she got married after her first season.
Right.
So she would have been 16.
16, maybe. Yeah, I guess so. Possibly.
I mean, give or take.
Right.
I was trying to figure out. And then the kid is like 9. So she's only in her early or mid 20s, late 20s at the latest.
Right. Which makes him like in his 40s. And I think 40s at that point in time is basically like 70s.
Is like,
yeah.
Right.
The life expectancy is very different. It's like how Mad Men was like all the characters and
I didn't watch
Oh, okay. They were like all 20 something, but they seem like today's 40 somethings. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's just
they're
like,
supposed to be 20 on Mad Men.
Like
I mean,
late
I've seen
20s.
pictures.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. Yeah. John Hamm.
Like he was supposed to be like 29 or 30. Those were all like those career gray flannel suit men in their 20s. You get married at like 21 and
wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would think we needed more of their
context.
Story. Because also the book just dives right the fuck in.
Right.
So I read Anna K first, as you know. And so when I started this and I got to like part 2 and I basically already knew how everything was going to go, I was like, how are there 6 more parts? Like, how do I have 650 pages left? Like, in my mind, when I picked this up, I thought that it was going to be basically Anna K, but like, so I thought there was going to be much more drawn out, like flirtation between her and Vronsky. I thought the romance was going to be a huge part of it. I thought we were going to understand why they liked each other. Like, I didn't feel like I got any of that from this book, even between Anna and Vronsky.
Right.
Like, it's like they meet, they talk at a party, Mr. K sees it, and he thinks it's fine. And then someone else is like, it's not fine. And then he confronts her, and then she's like, fuck you, I hate you, at a horse race. And then, like,
there's a paragraph where it was said that he was showing up at every event that she was at.
Yeah.
Just for a little bit. But like, you have to seem like a couple. That was like a couple weeks or whatnot.
Yeah.
That was it.
It was the build up to Anna and Vronsky was just very, very, very quick. Yes. And I was thinking that it was going to be like longer and like sexier and like more tension. There wasn't a lot of tension.
Right.
And so I think that also threw me as like, I like a long book. I'm happy to read a long book, but I didn't feel like this book gave me enough juice. But I think maybe you ruined it for me because you gave me so much juice that I just loved that I was like, Tolstoy, come on, get it together, my guy.
I think the juice between them, what I think, because I keep thinking about like, why was I so into it?
Yeah.
And I feel like that I loved the part when they first meet and they both were equally smitten at the same time. Because to me, as a young girl, you're like, oh, I want a guy who's obsessed with me, sort of, because that seems romantic if a guy's like just totally smitten, like from out of the gate. And as much as I want to be smitten with them too, I like a mutual obsession crush type of thing. So that's why I like that. So it didn't ever feel one-sided that it's a girl who's just like madly loving. Yeah, I never like those when the girl's just like pining for a guy and stuff. I want it to be equal. Yeah. So that's what I think I liked so much about their romance. And I guess I put in so much of like my own sort of feelings into it because I don't sort of remember that there's very little of them in a way. I think I fill it out in my head of like whatever I think's going on. But I do think that my specificity and details, I was like, oh, that's kind of like how I write, right? I do put in so many details. And I was like, people think I put in a lot of details. We're knowing what the dog's thinking in every meal they're eating.
There's so much fucking food.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you guys, get it together. It's like, and so also everything happens so late at night. Right. Like there's a part where he mentions Anna's kid goes to sleep at 10 p.m. and then she goes out to some balls. I'm like, do y'all not sleep? Like, isn't it cold in Russia? Don't you want to be in your bed? Like, I cannot. But he does have so many details.
I think Russia's like one of those places. I mean, I'm just speaking out my ass right here. It must be like a late night. Because when I went to Spain that first time and I was like, oh my God, everyone eats dinner at 10. I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Here? So I think
Soul's like that too, right? Super late night. Couldn't be me. Yeah. I like an early bird special. Like I need to be asleep by 10 o'clock. Like when I saw that the kid was going to sleep at 10, I was like, ooh, my kids are asleep by 7. Like, because I need to be asleep by 9.
Right.
One of the things about, since we already started with Anna and Vronsky, then we'll kind of go back and talk about Levin more.
Tracy just rolled her eyes, guys.
I cannot stand. I just wasn't interested in Levin. I just am not interested. I don't care. And we can talk. I want to talk about his politics later, but there's a scene. There are some juicy scenes for sure. And besides the one in the carriage that I just talked about, is the scene where Alexei just Vronsky runs into Mr. K at their house. Like that was a moment for me. Like the thing that was cool about the book is there were definite moments of me being like, I cannot stop reading this. I need to know how this plays out. But almost every single one of those scenes sort of left me wanting more. Like I felt I wanted more drama.
Right.
I don't know. I just thought it was going to be so dramatic. No.
I'm like shaking my head.
You're like, no, I was led astray, I guess, somehow. I don't know why I thought that, but I think because people say that the Russians are like so dramatic. But I do feel like one of the things that Tolstoy does really well is that I think he makes complicated and not super likable characters. I think that is really well done. Because I think sometimes when writers try to write like unlikable characters, they go into it being like, this person's unlikable. And I felt like these people were very human. Like, I was like, I know Mr. K. Like, I know
people like that.
Yeah, I know people like Vronsky. Like, I know I love Dolly.
Right.
Dolly is the best character in the book,
amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
I think so. And also, I loved Steven, our Gurvaradovich.
Right.
The brother.
Right.
Also,
Oblonsky.
Yes, Oblonsky. But he has Arkadabayev. And they all have like 12 names.
I know.
And it's a struggle. It's like, I always, when people will like say something to like someone who's like African or like has like an Asian name or something. And they'll be like, oh, how do you pronounce that? And I'm like, you guys can pronounce fucking Arkadabayev, but you can't pronounce like Kim?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Why is this hard? I get so annoyed because I'm sitting here reading this being like, I obviously Mr. K and like because he had some other names too.
Yes.
And then they also never really call Anna Karenina. They call her Anna Arkadabayev.
Right, because that's like her other name, but that's her family. That was the thing with Anna K. That's her married name. It wasn't technically her name. And since my Anna wasn't married, I had to change that part. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, also your characters didn't have 35 Russian names, except for Vronsky had his Russian name. But I feel like Tolstoy does a really good job of making these sort of like crunchy characters who are likable and also not.
I feel like for the time, this is written late 1800s in Imperial Russian. So I think it's like the stuff that he put in was scandalous for the time. And I think he had to pad it in within so much other stuff to be like, oh, this is a normal novel, so it's not going to get banned. And he was known as a serious writer. So I think that was probably why he had to do so much. And he's like, ooh, a little juicy part. Because it's like, oh, that's what I was trying to do, pull out all the good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and there is good stuff and it is juicy. I just, I'm 2021. I want, like, because there was a part where they have sex, I think, but I was confused because I just thought they like kissed.
Right.
Turns out she's pregnant.
Right.
So, like, I guess they've been having sex this whole time. But all of a sudden it was like, oh, she's with child. And I was like, how did they just have their first kiss? Turns out that was actually a sex scene.
Right.
I've been ruined.
Right.
I'm a whore. Like, I'm totally ruined this. Okay. Anna and Vronsky finally get together.
Right.
Instantly hate each other. A bummer.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny because this time when I was listening to it, especially like, she's kind of one of the first, like, a beginning of the opioid crisis, right? She got worse and worse, right? Yeah. Towards the end, it got really sad, but she was definitely addicted to morphine. And then she was spiraling out and it really turned tragic for her. Yeah. And those moments when like Dolly, when she went to go visit them after she was a fallen woman and she was discussing how grand that house was, etc., but how happy and changed she was. So I do think she was happy, but I feel like there's judgment in that from Tolstoy because obviously she abandoned her child, basically. Right. She seems so not interested in the second child at all. I think I think that daughter represented something to her, right? Because I mean, yeah, she obviously loved her first child, and so it was just different. So I think there were these moments where it's like she clearly made a choice for love. It was just
but was it love, or like maybe was it just lust? Because they like went to 6 parties together, and then she got pregnant, and then like it just felt like.
But they ran away together.
Like, when they ran away together.
So
but
I think
then
it
they
took
started
a year
not liking each other.
Right.
Once they were together. Once she left Mr. K.
Right.
They didn't like each other. He was annoyed with her. She was annoyed with him. I think it was like the tension of the situation. Also, you know, like stress makes it hard on a relationship. But to me, that felt also super like, of course, spot on. You think that you want this thing. It's forbidden.
Right.
It's like sexy, whatever. And then you get it and you're like, oh, his feet actually smell just like Mr. K's. And like, he's a drunk too. And like, he's annoying. I don't know.
I felt like they were like equally always still obsessed. Like it was just one of those things. It was just doomed love. Meaning like, I love you, but like there's all these problems and there's all these issues. I almost wish I didn't love you, but I can't. Like,
I can't.
Because she was so hyper focused and obsessed with him, obviously up until the end.
Also, even if she had fallen out of love with him, she couldn't tell anybody. She wasn't gonna be able to like undo that. They were gonna have to ride that out no matter how it played out.
Right.
You know, because you can't be a ruined woman twice.
Right.
Like, well, she didn't have any options to begin with. And then she somehow eked out this really not ideal option. And then from there wasn't like she was going to be able to like, oh, we broke up.
She should have taken that first divorce. Because she had a chance at a divorce at one point in time. But then she was going to lose her son. So that was that choice.
Right.
So like every way she kept making sort of the wrong turn. And then it just, I think, you know, that time there's always that scene where she went to like the opera and she's like, it'll be fine. And then she had no idea that everyone would be so mean. So mean. I mean, it's so dangerous liaisons, right? They just iced her.
We knew they were going to be mean.
Yeah.
I don't know what she was thinking.
Yeah.
Was she already on drugs by
Probably.
then?
I think
because she started the drugs with the first baby, with the second
baby. Right. And then it seemed like she was like, oh, I only take it when he's not here or whatnot, or when I can't sleep. But I think she was, having issues.
I feel like there's a lot of mental health stuff in this book. Yes. Like there's a lot of depression. Levin is depressed. Kitty's depressed. Right. Obviously Anna's depressed. She's addicted to drugs. There's all of Levin's stuff, like anxiety around mortality. There's just
all the men are huge drinkers.
All
and
the men are huge drinkers. But I think that's also Russian. Like culturally Russian in the 1800s. Like,
for sure.
All they did was, I don't think they had like, I mean, I know in America, a lot of people drank alcohol because it was distilled and the water wasn't.
Right.
So who knows? But everyone was fucking wasted.
Yeah.
Like I need to know what that vibe is like if your baseline is just drunk.
Right.
You know, like how drunk are you? Are you functioning normal or are you always functioning sort of tipsy? Like if it's just a baseline drunk.
I worked with someone who was a baseline drunk. I mean, like literally solo cup at 10 just to function, like had to like continually have a little, seems sort of fine. And then it just starts to deteriorate through the day, but like kind of functioning sort of. I mean, obviously don't know what they're like pre.
But I wonder, like, do you make bad? I mean, you probably do make bad decisions if you're baseline drunk. But, you know, like, I'm thinking, like, tolerance-wise. Like, if I have one cocktail, I'm drunk.
Oh, me too.
But if I drank a lot all the time, maybe I would make, like, normal decisions. Or I
don't know, because it's a depressive. So I feel like it probably is, especially if you're that far gone.
Do the women drink? They don't. I mean, they do, but they don't.
They must.
But they weren't drinking like that in the book.
Yeah, you didn't hear about it because it was the men that are social. Women at that time were property and had no rights. I mean, though they did have a lot of parties. They
were active.
Yeah. They definitely, in certain, seemed like some of them were having, it also seemed like affairs where everybody was having an affair, right?
Right.
And then it was like she just fell in love.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, it's just so interesting, like the way that things like the drinking, the way that I think about it through today's lens versus like how it's written about, like that it was just part of life and it's super casual, and like even trying to compare it to someone that you know now or like someone that I know now or whatever, it just feels like it doesn't even connect because I'm like, I can't comprehend a society in which people are drinking like that, like everyone, like not outliers.
It must just be a baseline. I mean, it must be like that's just the commonplace sort of thing, and everyone sort of does it. So then everyone like, operates like with everyone.
Place.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, who knows? And I don't think the alcohol was as strong then, or maybe it was strong. I don't know. I don't know anything about alcohol, as I mentioned. I have like one cocktail and You're
talking to
the
wrong person.
Yeah, I'm like, we fucking don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. I have all these notes. I like want to get to all these things because I know everybody. Everyone who read with us. Thank you. I can't believe we convinced you guys to do this. We're so irresponsible.
It's a classic. Hello. It is always voted as one of the best.
People said this is the greatest novel
of all time. Of all time. It makes every single list.
I don't read enough novels, I guess, because this one is not it for me. But I can't
think it was the scope. Right? You have to think about how many relationships and like what you really got an entire like 360 view of that time.
Right. But did you read, what's his other one? War and Peace or
Crime and Punishment? I couldn't get through. Yeah. I couldn't.
Crime and Punishment is Dostoevsky.
Yes.
I mean, aren't they all big and a lot of scope?
They're all big. And I know War and Peace, I'm just not as into war, though I like war movies weirdly, but I don't know. I couldn't get into that one.
I as I was reading this, I kept thinking like, I wonder what Leo Tolstoy would think. Like if he had imagined that we would still be reading this book.
He said it was, I mean, from what I've read, it said he felt like this was his best work or this was his first real novel, I guess, grand and in scope and whatnot. So I think that's what he said.
Sure. But I guess I mean more like, I think a lot of authors would say like one of their books is like their best work, their thing. But like, do you think that in 150 years people are going to be reading your book and talking about it?
No.
Like I mean, he sort of has a big ego, I feel. So maybe he did believe that it would be a classic or whatever, but it's just interesting to think about.
Yeah, how many years that people have been reading this? Though I don't think so many people from Anna K was like, oh, never read Anna Karenina, don't even know what it's about. I mean, people didn't even know the end. I thought the end was super famous.
I did not know the end.
Oh, really?
I knew it was a tragedy. Okay. So I knew someone died. And I think the reason that I knew that Anna died in the original book is because I think in Gia Tolentino's book, Trick Mirror, she has this chapter about all these different literary heroines. Right. And I think she mentions it. So I sort of knew, but I would never have known, like, kills herself by train.
Oh, you
like that know. That was new information to me. Well, it was new information to me when I read your book because then I realized that it was a different. Because I think you have an author's note that mentioned it.
I always knew I wasn't going to have her die in my book.
Okay, yeah, sure. I feel like I knew that you had said that somewhere, so I knew that what you did was different. Also, I guess we just spoiled. Well, we didn't. I mean,
well, it's 800 years.
No, I meant your book.
Oh.
Well, sorry.
It's okay.
It's okay.
That book came out a year ago too. We can't have spoilers forever.
Sorry. Don't be mad at me. You should have read Anna K by now. I've been telling you about it for a year. Like, this is not on me. This is on you, people. Okay, we have to talk about, since we're here, we have to talk about her death. Wait, before we do, one more thing. In section 4, I believe it is, there's a lot of drama with Anna and Vronsky.
Right.
And Mr. K. And they go back and forth, and we hear from Mr. K, and we hear a lot from Vronsky. We hear a lot back from Mr. K. And I don't think we ever hear from Anna in that section. That's like all like what she's going through. It's all about the two men and what they're going through in relationship to her. And I found that to be a very interesting choice because we do hear from her in other parts of the book and what she's going through.
Right.
And I don't know. It just really bothered me.
I feel like at that point in time, they're negotiating like as if she's property, which is what she was, right? Yeah. So that it was just about the men and their ego and how it works in society. I don't know if he's necessarily making a comment about it, except that I wonder if he really knew, because she just seemed like she was always in denial. Like, I don't want to think about that. And I'm like, really? Because you need to think about it. You're the center of it. Why can't you make any choices? But I kept wondering, I was like, oh, because she knew she couldn't. So is that why you just like, you're like, oh, why should I sit there and think about what I want? Because I don't have a say-so in the matter.
Right.
Because no one gives her anything she wants, basically, which is what was so sad and drove to that tragic ending. Like, she had no options.
Right.
And also, I do think Tolstoy was like, she was a bad woman and she must be punished, and this is her punishment.
Didn't like her. Tolstoy didn't like Anna.
I don't know if it's because, I don't know if he didn't not.
Or do you think he had sympathy for her, I guess, is probably a better way than like?
not really that much sympathy. Not empathy. Maybe he kind of like I think he realizes this is a life thing that happens and poor her. But I think she was like a fallen woman in his eyes. She made the wrong moral choice, and this is the consequences. This is what happens to you. It's sort of like beware, sort of a little bit to me. That's how I read it.
Yeah.
But it was so sad to me because it was like she fell in love for the first time. She didn't know it was obviously the first time she's ever had good sex or anything. She was smitten, right? So she was like obsessed and she had no choices. So that to me is what made it so sad when everything started going wrong. You just, yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. I thought a lot about whether Tolstoy was sympathetic to her.
Did you? What do you think?
I'm torn also because I feel like given the time and given what I know about even modern day men writing women, I didn't think he did a terrible job of writing her.
Okay.
Like sometimes I read a book and I'm like, this is what you think women talk like? Like, are you kidding me? And I didn't have those vibes. Like I thought she was complicated. Look, I thought it was a mess. Like, I don't think that I don't know that this story is very sympathetic to women in general, but I thought that the way that he wrote her was not abhorrent. Like I wasn't disgusted by it like I am sometimes when I read fiction written by men about women.
Totally. Neither was I. I think he just didn't have that much, but where I think he had a lot of sympathy for Dolly. Yeah.
Well, right, because she was one who was cheated on. She wasn't the one who was out there, and she was raising the kids and like doing her thing.
And she might have been like his wife, and that is, I don't know if it was God's work in his eye, but that's the highest thing for a woman to do is to be a good mother, etc. So that was another strike against Anna. Was really the whole children, which I know, which is one thing that obviously I couldn't cover in Anna Kay, which is what that's such a different.
It's a whole other.
Yeah, it's a whole other dynamic.
And if they're like teen moms, that's a whole different dynamic too, and that really changes what Anna Kay would be. Anyways, I think it was the right choice not to have kids. Not to to cut that part of it.
Right. Yeah. Because I wanted to make them teenagers also. I also wanted it to be not as dark because this is a dark kind of a bummer book for him.
Yeah. It's definitely a bummer.
Yeah.
But so I think that no matter what his opinions of the women were, I think that he did a good job in writing Anna to be human and not a total villain. And so for that, I think that he did have some sympathy for her. Like he could see her plight. I also think that it makes sense you saying that this is based on a story in his real life. Because like I could see how you would get obsessed with the story and like create this whole person in your head.
Right.
And she does feel like real, but also kind of a little bit not tethered to reality. Like kind of a fantasy almost.
Yeah, because he's probably trying to explore like what would drive a woman to then so tragically like throw herself in front of a train. I mean, of all the deaths. Yes. That's
and then what's the horrible Mr. K's horrible friend, the Christian woman?
Oh, Lydia.
What a nightmare.
Eleanor, that was my Eleanor.
Yes. Fuck Lydia.
Yeah.
She was really
a nightmare.
And I didn't think that Tolstoy had enough bad things to say about her. I needed more of a judgment on her because she was horrible.
Yeah.
She was horrible. Sorry, Lydia. It's a no for me.
Did you ever watch the movie, the Anna Karenina movie?
I've never seen any of the movies.
Oh, you should watch that one. I'm not saying it's the best adaptation.
Which one?
Of the
movie?
One
with Keira Knightley?
Yes.
Okay.
Because at least I think her and Vronsky were well done. And I thought Jude Law did a pretty interesting job of making him like, oh, he's so uptight and boring.
Jude Law
plays her
Levin?
husband. No.
Plays Mr. K?
Yes.
Huh. I would never have thought in a million years to cast Jude Law.
I know.
I would have cast Jude Law as literally every other male character in this thing.
Wait till you see that old-timey condom that he pulls out.
Wait, there's condoms?
In it. There's like a little thing he pulls out of a box in the movie that is basically a condom for them to like not do it. And then she's like, not tonight, dear. And he's like, puts it back in a little box. It's really like, ew. I want to die right now. And I haven't even seen it. Yeah. But the clothes and the jewelry are
amazing. Okay.
Believable.
I did have an intention to watch it before we recorded, but I sort of forgot that I had that intention. Right. The Underground Railroad thing came out, and there's other stuff going on. Sports, life, sports. Yeah, I just, it's not my thing. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. Valentine's Day is upon us, and I've got love on the brain. Love for books. Duh, of course. Hello. Did you forget what podcast you're listening to? I love bringing you all great reads, exclusive author interviews, and behind the scenes book gossip. But I can only do that with your support over on Patreon and Substack. Our Stacks Patreon community, also known as the Stacks Pack, is where you can go for book club meetups, a private, very active Discord, and a year-long mega reading challenge to help you achieve all your reading goals. Plus, you also get that monthly bonus episode. Now, over on the Substack, you can subscribe to my newsletter, Unstacked, where I keep the book conversations going. I also give you a healthy dose of sports and pop culture, definitely some hot takes happening over there. And again, that bonus episode. If you don't have a few dollars to spare, don't worry. There are free options on the Substack and the Patreon to get you a little extra Stacks magic. Making this podcast is a total team effort, and by supporting my Patreon and my Substack, you allow me to support my amazing team that makes the show possible every single week. So if you or your friends are looking to meet other book lovers and support this indie podcast, come hang out with me on Patreon, Substack, or both. I would love to have you. And since we're talking about love, you can gift subscriptions to the Patreon and the Substack for that special reader in your life. For the Stacks Pack, head to patreon.com/thestacks. And for the newsletter, head to tracythomas.substack.com. And also, there are links to both in the show notes. Okay, see you in the Stacks. We have to talk about Anna's death. That's where we left off. Very tragic. Very sad. I read a whole book called Anna Karenina. And the fact that Leo Tolstoy did not even give me the courtesy of hearing from everyone about their grief or their opinions, and instead I had to read about Levin's brother's book in section 8. Infuriating. Like, I can't even. How is that the ending of the book?
Because he thinks he's the ending of the book, and that was the whole.
But what even was the ending? I don't even know what section 8 was about.
They did the whole thing with Vronsky. You got to hear him that he was like
he
wretched.
Was distraught.
Yes, he was
and
distraught.
His mom
he was
an
going
asshole.
to war, and he was like basically like didn't want to live anymore.
He
and,
was like leading the troops.
Yeah, he's going back to Serbia because he was like had no purpose, and then he didn't eat for 3 weeks, and he was really devastated over it, etc. So,
but that was like 6 paragraphs max,
right?
And this book is so long. And I read all of it waiting for the fallout. And you give me 6 paragraphs. I was raging.
True confession, audiobook. I have 1 hour left. So I didn't get to the very, very end. Though I do remember the ending. Isn't the ending where he gets to where Levin and really there's like this big storm. And then he realizes that he wants to be a father and he loves her. Yeah. And that he almost believes in God again.
Yeah,
sort
there's
of,
some
right?
weird,
there's
like,
a religious sort of experience about like where he's just so in his head all the time about like politics and all these things and judging everything that he finally like had his transcendental whatever moment. And I was like, oh, so that's the end. I know it is like kind of shocking that that's
the book called Levin, not called Anna Karenina. Like I can't imagine writing a book about a person allegedly and then them having this incredibly devastating suicide by train moment and then being like blackout, cue lights, Levin reading a book about his brother, like casually bumping into Vronsky's mom.
Did they ever discuss Levin's viewpoint on Anna? Because I can't remember at the very end.
I think they might have mentioned. I think
did that not trigger his? I'm sure it should. In TV, it would have triggered his
love of life
whole thing,
right? No, but the stuff about Anna was very early in section 8. Right. And then the stuff about the storm is like the very, very end of section 8. And Stephen Arkadagavich Oblonsky, he comes in and he's the one who I believe tells Levin.
Oh, that Anna died?
No, Levin runs into Vronsky's mom at the train station again. She's only at the train station, that woman. She's just very busy, traveling a lot. And she tells him and Steven, I believe, about Vronsky. And like Vronsky's also on the train somewhere else. Yeah. And that he's been very sad, but now he's doing better because he's found war because
he wants to die.
If you can't find love, go find war. It makes lots of sense. And then I think that, like, I don't remember if Levin had strong feelings about it. That was not made clear to me. It just was really unsatisfactory for me, the ending. Like, I wanted to have this moment of like, she's gone and the world is worse because of it, or she's gone and the world is better because of it, or she's gone and I don't know. She's your main character, allegedly. Like, the book is about her. It just felt like bummer.
I think this is my thoughts. I do think that Tolstoy believed that the world was in better order then. Like, because after that she died and this is like how it's supposed to be and everyone could move on. Like, this immoral thing is like snuffed out. Sort of. I mean, it was so tragic. It was like she just was spiraling at the end when you really read it closely. I mean, she just like was so jealous and so like crazy. And then he didn't get her telegram and she was just distraught. And I mean, sadly, I have like my father had committed suicide. So and it's not similar in any way, but there is this thing of where sometimes it turns into what's super sad when it's obviously someone's depressed and distraught, etc. And it turns into a panic move over a missed circumstance, which is what I felt like that was too.
Yeah.
And it's like, I do think he loved her. I believe that he loved her and that she loved him, and I don't know if it could have worked out.
Yeah.
But I do think.
I do too. I do think that they loved each other. I think that it was really sad and tragic, and I enjoyed reading that part, and that was like the juiciest part for me of the book, that sort of missed connection, her spiraling, the letters, the telegrams, like him thinking that she was just being dramatic and her feeling like, she's created this reality that is somehow
never going to work. She had no options. I think she really felt like she had no options at the end, which is super sad, because that was the thing. It's like you make one mistake and then society judges you in this way. And so that was my whole thing, where I was like, that has to change for women, especially.
Right.
Like, that's just such a terrible place for anyone to be in. So,
and I think that that's what's so frustrating about the way the book ends is that there's this opportunity for some sort of commentary on it. And I guess to your point is like, maybe Tolstoy's commentary was like, good riddance, now the world can continue.
Maybe, possibly. And also I think because it was serialized, I'll have to check, but I do think that part 8 was written much later. So he finished the book with that ending.
Right.
And then he was like, oh, one more serialized chapter to make money. And then what should I write about? I don't know.
To me, it's like, oh, what should I write about? I don't know. The aftermath of this major public suicide. Like, it's in a public place. It's a big deal. Like, it just left me really feeling bummed in a way that was not the kind of bummed I wanted to feel. I wanted to feel sad about her death and like how senseless the suicide was and how emotional everyone is. And instead it was like, I'm bummed because I just read 700 pages and I have 100 pages left, and I have a sense we're not getting to the thing that I want to get to.
Right.
But there is that one great sentence where Vronsky's mom is like, she ended as such a woman deserved to end. Even the death she chose was mean and low.
Yes.
Like, talk about mean and low.
Yeah, seriously.
Mrs. Vronsky coming in with the hot takes. Holy shit. Okay, we have to talk about some of the other people in this book, I guess, because, again, I asked you guys to read this book and I'm trying to give you everything you want. But Kitty and Levin.
Okay.
Their little love story. I mean, Levin was basically just a no for me in general. Like, Levin was he's a like horrible Republican. He's a horrible rich person who goes and works one day in the field and thinks he like, oh, now these people have humanity to me. Like, go fuck yourself. Like, just truly, his politics really irked. Like, there was just so much about him that I was,
over him.
I was just over him. And I also blame you a little bit because Dustin in your book is really great and lovable.
Yeah.
And so I thought I was really going to like Levin. I was going to be like, oh, he's like this great, lovable, like kind of awkward kid. No, he definitely is awkward and like maybe on the spectrum in some ways. Levin, very intense, not very good socially, which are all character traits that I personally love. And like, I'm down for that kind of character, but his politics were bad.
Right.
Really bad. And I had to read about wheat with him.
So much wheat. So much agricultural.
So much. And I'm like, he's not even in the fields really. Like, why are we like, he's, and I guess I don't know nearly enough about Russian politics, et cetera. So let me just give this disclaimer. I guess this is about like communism and capitalism and stuff. I have no fucking clue, but that's what I was gathering.
Yes. And the whole act, I mean, I couldn't tell you.
Yes, we don't know.
Yeah. We don't know.
We're going to stay in our lane here.
Yeah.
That's what we think. I know some of you wanted us to talk about the politics part of it, and I can't really talk about the
intricacies.
Yeah, of 1800s Russian policy and political parties, etc. But what I can tell you is that the way that I read it in 2021 was he's a horrible Republican and he definitely would vote for Trump. He's a horrible Republican and he definitely would have voted for Mitch McConnell and said he didn't like Trump and he wrote in someone else for president. That's what he would do. Like, he supports the Republican Party.
Right.
He's okay with all the terrible, like, voter suppression.
Right.
He's okay with all the horrible stuff, but he doesn't like Trump's personality.
Yeah. I don't think he would think Trump is like a good, like, man, where I think he thinks very highly of himself, Levin, and whatnot. I mean, I found him, the parts, I always reflect back on like their relationships. Obviously, that's the most interesting part. So his whole heartbreak with where he was obsessed with Kitty and loved her so much. And then he kept trying to talk himself out of love, like as if you could do that. Like, he was such the intellectual and a thinker. I mean, obviously Dustin and Anneke was kind of more me. Do you know what I mean? Where Tolstoy was that. So I was like, oh, he's the nerdy one who can kind of like comment on everything. Yeah. So it wasn't, I wanted him to be likable and whatnot. So I used him as like just that same sort of moral center who could just judge kind of everyone and would give out his opinions and be neurotic. Because Levin's kind of neurotic.
He totally is.
Yeah. He like thinks every single thing through so much and tries to convince himself. He can admit a little bit when he's wrong, though, sometimes.
Yeah, there's that scene with Veransky, the guy who's hitting on Kitty that he like kicks out. Honestly, that's Levin's strongest word.
Yeah.
Like, what an asshole. She's already your wife. Like, let her just get flirted with. Like, why are you being such a jerk?
I think he was like upset because of the whole Vronsky thing too. Because it was like he has
insecure
such pride and totally insecure.
Totally insecure guy vibes. Yeah. I wanted to like Levin. Like, I wanted to be interested in him. Not like him, but I wanted to be interested in him. And his politics just really irritated me. And then there's one part I think it's in section 8, or when they're doing that election thing.
Oh yeah.
A nightmare. So boring. Or maybe, I can't remember exactly where it is, but he's like, I'm not a Negro. And I was like, can you just leave Black people out of this fucking book? Like, why? Like, how did we get dragged into this? We're in America tilling the fields. We're enslaved. And you're talking shit about us in your little sentence, Levin. Like, leave me alone. I was so mad. I was like, Tolstoy, can we have one book where you don't drag Black people in? Like, what? It threw me for a loop. And it made me hate Levin even more. 1,000%.
What did you think of Kitty?
I liked Kitty. Again, like Anna, she just doesn't get
enough time.
Doesn't get enough time. I feel like, I think maybe because I am a woman, I like the women characters. I'm always more predisposed to like the women characters. But I also think in classic literature, air quotes, written by men, and I'm speaking a lot about Shakespeare because that's what I know a lot about, I think that the women characters are always the smartest. I think that because men can't always write women, they use women as like thematic ideas and stuff. And I think that that's why the women end up being like really crafty or like really smart or really interesting in these ways. It's because they don't know how to actually write humans, so they use them in weird ways. So it doesn't necessarily make for great interior emotional depictions, but I do think it makes for interesting thinking as a reader, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. I think in that time period, men and women didn't mix company that much at all. So I don't think, besides maybe your wife, you don't really get to know women. And certainly women aren't allowed to speak about their true feelings or have any opinions on politics or anything else. Like, no one wants to hear their opinions on agriculture. So one of the most modern scenes to me is when Dahlia does go to visit when Anna's living at Vronsky's estate and she's riding the horse on, the way a woman kind of shouldn't, but like seems grand and then really did have opinions. And because Vronsky was treating her a little bit like an equal, which she clearly never got in her marriage. So I did like that because he did care and she clearly was smart and interested in things. I mean, I think she was filling a gaping hole because she was like, couldn't go anywhere and see anyone. Talk about being and like, she was like in a global pandemic. I know.
Which was weird. And they mentioned that a lot. And then they talked about other things in the house. And I feel like Vronsky's really cheap. That's the sense that I got.
Oh, really? I felt like Vronsky, his house was the grandest of all. He was spending money for the peasant hospital.
But then it was
all for her, it seemed like.
There was something weird with them and money. Because then there was that whole scene where he goes through all his finances and he's like very aware of his right? That was him, right? Vronsky, I think. No, I can't remember. I think it was Vronsky.
Well, there was all the paperwork with his mom, which is why he had to go and see her, etc. But he had the most money. And it seemed like, even that very first scene when they first met, like him giving money to the train theme is a big deal, right? In the very opening of the book, and I did the same thing with Anna Kay, but mine was a dog, and that was a person. Someone dies on the train where she meets Vronsky, and he, because of her, gives money to the widow.
Right.
And that was like how he...
Right, because of her, though. I feel like Vronsky is cheap.
Right.
But because of her, he was spending money in different ways. But there were a few lines where it was like, maybe something with the food wasn't like the best food, or like he didn't want to splurge to get. Oh,
I know what it was. It was on the horses. They didn't give the feed for the horses to come visit. Like those horses didn't get as much.
There was like a few little things where I was like, oh, he's cheap. He's just like being rich. He's
for
like,
show.
Yeah, he's just showing. Like that's not.
And
his
for
spirit.
her.
Yeah, yeah. But Kitty, I like Kitty. I guess Dolly stood out to me as the character that I really liked because she's sort of. Are you familiar with Gone with the Wind?
Yeah,
I mean it's my favorite. Right. I know. Cancel me. I love Gone with the Wind.
I love Gone with the Wind.
But she's like not the Ashley, the Melanie,
right?
Where it's like I hated Melanie as a child. I hated that character. I was like, why are you getting in the way of the love between Scarlett and Ashley? Like, what's wrong with you? It wasn't until I got older and realized that Scarlett and Rhett actually were the perfect couple that I realized that Ashley was a fucking dud.
Yes.
And he deserved to be with Melanie because she was a dud too. And she was very lovely and like, what a wonderful soul. And I feel like that's Dolly.
Yes.
Like Dolly's probably sort of a dud, but she was really like a kind woman. And it was nice of her to overcome her own whatever societal things to be a sister to Anna, who had been a sister to her
for sure
when she needed it. And so I respect Dolly in that way. But like probably a Melanie kind of bore fest.
Yeah. I think she was like that put upon thing. It was sort of interesting though to see her life through that lens, which is like, her husband, that starts the book. Her husband's cheating on her. Anna's brother's cheating on her. And she's so horrified. And it was like, and she talks about like how she's had so many children and then she's let her looks go and it's so unfair. And it kind of is unfair. Totally. And then, and she's very put upon and she's always scrounging for money. So I really felt for her. The second time I read Anna Karenina, I think I had just gotten married. So I was like 29, I think the second time. And I really was like, oh my God, who remembered this part of the story? I really went into their marriage. And I was like, maybe I actually was married. And that was my first marriage. And that wasn't going well because I was like, it really stuck with me that time.
Dolly and Steve.
Yes. Their marriage. Yeah.
What's his name? Stefan?
Stefan.
Yeah. Stefan Oblonsky. And I liked him. And it's of course like the obvious comparison is like he's cheating and living his life and nobody cares. And Anna does it. And it's like the scandal of the century.
Right. Yeah. And he does what he wants. And he's like, he's the entitled fun one that just like likes everyone.
He's a good hang. Everyone loves him. I love that every time he comes in, everyone's like, Steve, Stefan, my guy. Like, oh, you know him. And he's like introducing everybody. He's the character that I want to be friends with. I don't want to be in a relationship with him. But like, I definitely want to go out with him. I want to party. I want to drink one drink with him as he drinks 20. Because again, I'll be on the floor. But like, I like him. Love the vibes. There's one, back to the politics. There's one scene, Act 4, Part 4, Scene 10, where they talk about women's rights. Do you remember that part? And it's like they're talking about Anna, I believe, and they're like talking about how they're kind of like someone's sympathizing with her and someone is saying how she's bad. And that felt like a very much Tolstoy writing. Like there's parts of the book where it's like Tolstoy writes his opinion.
Right.
And like that happens in the politics section. And all of that, all the commentary from Tolstoy, I did not care for. And I feel like all of the actual interactions and like the scenes as opposed to the conversations, I did care for.
Right. Okay.
Like I think that's how I would break down the book like in general. I don't know. But there were a bunch of scenes where he was like expounding on his politics that I was just like, I don't care.
Right.
Like I was like, no, it's a no for me.
Right.
Okay, what else? We're almost out of time. We talked about the ending.
So were you totally shocked for the ending? I mean, were you like...
I knew... Well,
you knew something was going to happen.
Well, after I read your book,
right,
I figured out what was going to happen.
Right.
And I knew she was going to die. And I just wanted to feel more, honestly. Like, we kind of spoiled your book, but not really, but I'm going to do it again. The end of your book, I was very emotional about what had happened.
Right.
And I didn't see it coming. And there was a lot of grief from characters around the end of your book, which made me feel things. This book, there was a lot of no one's talking about this thing, and I need to talk about this. And it annoyed me and made me mad. And that, like, I just don't think that it's right to write a book named after a character, and when they die, you just move on. Like, I need this. I need this for my own healing.
Yeah, you gotta unpack it and process it. But I think that Tolstoy is like, this is what happened. This is, her story is a tragedy because it started out this one way. She made a couple wrong choices, and this is the final end. And when it's over, it is over. And then these characters move on. I've forgotten that Vronsky tried to kill himself earlier.
Oh, right. Yeah. His suicide.
That was great. I sort of almost forgot that again. I mean, and then when I was in the audiobook, I was like, wait, what? Oh, right. I remember that.
That was a surprise to me. And then, I mean, that's back to the mental health shit.
Right.
And like, also, okay, maybe you can explain this to me, because this went over my head. When she is dying after having her baby.
Right.
And she calls for Mr. K.
Right.
And is desperate for him to forgive her and for them to like get back together. What the fuck was that?
I think it was like she thought she was dying and she needs his forgiveness to
go to heaven.
Possibly.
But then why did she? It was just.
I think she felt like, I think that's also Tolstoy's wishful thinking, which is like, this is how she should behave on death's door, right? That she should beg forgiveness and she was the wrong party and she should, to make either himself like her or, to be more sympathetic, is that she had, made her vows in marriage, etc. And like before God and the world. And then she broke them and now she's like begging for forgiveness on her. Yeah.
Sucks. Because you know what? Here's what it is.
But she flipped fast as soon as she got better, right?
She pretty quick.
Yeah.
She was like, please don't touch me.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's the other thing is like, I think Tolstoy had a version of Anna that was like, she's this badass woman. She's going to tell her husband she doesn't like him. She's going to whatever. And then he had this other version of her as like what she should have done, which is like, I'm going to apologize on death's door. And like, I'm going to tell him I don't want a divorce and all this stuff. And I wish Tolstoy would have just leaned all the way into badass Anna and just given us, like, I wish he would have made her just like the Wicked Witch of the West so we could have enjoyed this like woman, but he kept hedging and like, I don't know. It was like, instead of doing the horrible commentary that I hated, he decided sometimes to just have her think those things about herself, which just didn't quite work. It didn't quite work for me.
He might have had inner turmoil of what he thought. So maybe as you're writing, I feel like as a writer, once you start writing the characters, even the bad ones or the ones that you kind of disapprove of, you start to care about them.
Right.
So it is sort of, maybe he was having a struggle with that about like his judgment. And because I think you're right. It's like an exploration. He heard about this story in real life. He became obsessed with like, what makes this woman do this?
Yeah.
And then, and then when you find out, there has to be some sympathy for like, the situation. And clearly, obviously, if you're killing yourself, there's a mental health issue, which obviously they're not exploring back
which
then.
they're not dealing with back then.
Yeah.
No. And there were a lot.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're
everyone
dealing with it now.
Yeah. And everyone in the book is going through.
Right.
At the very, very least, which isn't least, but at the very least, depression.
Right.
And then we just take off from there.
It could be all the booze.
Yeah. That's a great point. Cause and effect.
Yeah.
Okay. The last thing that I want to talk about sort of is translations.
Okay.
So you've read the book 4 times.
Right.
Did you read 4 different translations?
I read, the first one was the Penguin one.
Okay.
Is that the one you read?
No, I read the Oxford.
Okay. I read the Penguin one and I definitely read the Modern Library one.
Okay.
I like the Penguin better because it's like more readable and like whatnot in terms of the sentences. I say whatnot all the time. I'm realizing this. And then the audio version, I don't know what version that was, but
Well, so what happened for me is that I bought the Oxford,
right,
and it's like Maud or something, Louise and Almar Maud, and they translated, and I also was reading it on my Kindle and I was taking it out from my library. So I actually took out like 4 different versions. And sometimes I would go and read different chapters from different versions. And I discovered that the translation really matters. Like this one that I have, the Oxford, the Maud, was super readable. But then there's the one that Oprah's book club did.
I started that one and I didn't know why I couldn't get through it.
I could not get through it. The translation is impossible. It's like a very hard read. And so what happened is that because I took it out on my Kindle, sometimes I would just click a different one just to read sections. And I clicked that one and I could not get through the chapter. And then I switched back to my translation and I was like, oh. And it made me realize how important the translations are. And it's interesting because I looked at why Oprah picked that one, and that was because it was the most recent printing, so it was the most widely available. But then she went on to make it like this huge bestseller-y version, and it's like the one that keeps getting printed, but I did not think it was the best one.
I started that one, now that you mentioned, because I have that on my shelf too, and I started reading it again at one point in time, and I couldn't get into it. And I was like, what's going on? Because I know I love this book. It was a weird thing. And then I kind of assumed that. And then I went back and went to a different version. I was like, oh, right. This is the book.
Interesting. See? And so there's an article, which I'll link to in the show notes, from Masha Gessen, the writer. And it's all, and I shared it before on my Instagram, but it's all about different translations of Anna Karenina. And it talks about how like the first line that I guess is very famous. People told me that the first line was famous. I had no idea. I'd never heard it before.
Oh, you hadn't?
No, I didn't know that. But there's a bunch of different versions of it. There's multiple different translations, which I found to be really interesting. If it's such a famous line, you would think everyone would translate it the same. But in this Masha Gessen article, they talk about like all these details about the translations, which I read. And I was like, oh, this makes sense. Like some people really stuck to the spirit and some people stuck to the direct translation. And I think that the version that was really hard to get through was more about the direct translation, like word for word, tense for tense kind of thing, which I guess there isn't necessarily a super easy English to Russian translation. But I found that interesting because I wasn't expecting it to be so different. Like I thought it would all sort of read the same.
Right.
You know, I don't know.
They're translating Anna Kay into Russian. I haven't seen the cover or anything. Yeah, that's one of the countries that bought it. So I'm very curious.
Exciting.
But obviously I can't read Russian, so I won't know. I know. I'm so curious to see what countries pull out the sex and the drugs. Because I think they have pretty wide places. Yeah. Liberties.
But if you pull out the sex and the drugs, what do you have?
Yeah.
Exactly. You just have teenagers riding horses, walking dogs, hanging out. Not just at a fancy party with nothing to do.
Right.
Okay, so the place that we always end is about the title and the cover.
Okay.
Which is sort of hard to do because there's so many covers. And we sort of talked about the title. But I don't think the title should have been Anna Karenina.
Oh.
I think it was a misnomer. It's not really her story to me.
But she is the best, most, because he's trying to write a tragedy. So I was like, that it is based on her. Because I don't think you could. My problem with a lot of the movies is that obviously that's the best part. Obviously, is the Anna Vronsky's part. So that's all they show.
Right.
So I feel like you need the entire scope of everyone's version of love to really get a full picture, like a round view of like all the different types of love. Because in the end, maybe the like slower love is sort of a little bit better. Because it's like, I think Levin and Kitty will ultimately have a better relationship than obviously Anna and
yeah. I think he should have gone with like words like, you know, crime and punishment or whatever. I think you should have gone with like love and trains. Or, you know, like I just think calling it Anna Karenina is just, I felt cheated.
Okay.
That's just me. But I mean, it's a good name. It's not a great name. I think Count Vronsky and Friends, a book by Leo Tolstoy. I don't know. She's just not the main character to me. It's not really her story. Like she has so little to say about it. It's just, I don't know. This woman on my cover is a whole vibe and a half. She's just looking at the camera like you have shit on your face. She like hates everybody.
I have little opera glasses on my cover.
I thought that was salt and pepper.
Oh.
But it's opera glasses. I mean, I don't know. The cover, the Oprah cover has like hands and flowers.
It's like a knees, but I always look at it. It looks like a butt sort of for a second. And then there's like flowers, but it's not. That's an odd cover.
There's a lot. I don't know. I feel like people don't know what to do with it. I sort of feel like it's a peculiar book a little bit, and it's not what I thought it was going to be. And I'm glad that I read it, and I was surprised at how easy it was to read, aside from when I picked up that one translation. Like I thought it was going to be more like reading Shakespeare. Like I struggled.
Right.
I didn't really. Like I picked it up and could read it easily.
He does craft a great sentence. Like, I mean, long sentences and like very descriptive in terms of details, which is what I think I need all those details to even care. Care. I was sort of interested in agriculture. I'm like weirdly I'm not in general, but I'm saying because he gave me enough, at least I was like, okay, because you gave me so much information, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
And I can kind of care because I need that.
Yeah.
Like same thing about like sci-fi or fantasy. Like I need you to make an entire
make a world. Yeah. As much as I didn't care for Levin's politics, I was interested in the politics stuff. Like I was interested in the arguments that were being crafted. I just found that Levin was on the side that I was not wanting to be on. But like I was not that interested in the agriculture, but I was interested in the politics and like the social norms stuff. And I think you're right. Like there's a lot of interesting stuff in the book. To me, it was just like with it being called Anna Karenina, it just felt like a misnomer. And so I think I went in thinking I was getting one thing, and instead I got a lot of other things.
It's like a bad trailer for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. It was like if it had been called, love affairs on the Political Express, I would have been like, that's all the things I need. I've got politics, trains, a love affair. I'm clear what's happening.
Right.
So and again, everyone who's listening, or most people are listening, no, I'm not really into fiction. Right. So like for a fiction book to really grab me and make me feel like this is the greatest thing that ever happened to me, it's got to do something really great.
Right.
And
you need more.
Yeah. And I read a Russian classic. I can check it off my bucket list, and I never have to do it again.
You never do.
And I got to talk to someone fun about, because that was the other fear. I was like, what if I read this book and then I have to talk to like a scholar about like Russian agriculture? I'd rather die. So, thank you.
No, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. No, it's so fun to see someone read it. And also that I'm like happy that you wanted to read it because you read Anna Kay. Because I was like, oh, that's the whole point. Maybe people read Anna Kay and then they'll like level up because it's much more difficult.
I definitely think that people who I wanted to read Anna Karenina because of you 1,000%, because I did not want to read. It wasn't really on my bucket list.
Right.
But now I've done it. So I'm adding it to the bucket list just so I can check it off.
Yeah. You should be proud. I mean, it is one of those books that it's like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, it's also like, I'm so glad that you did a modern retelling, because I do feel like it is right for modern. Like I do understand why the book has lasted so long.
Right.
I think you could have a modern version of this book every 20 years, every 30 years, and it would be fun and interesting, right? Like the 1980s version of this book would have been great. Like,
and to do a full true one with just adults, and so you do the whole story. Yeah. But then I was like, no, I had thought about that, but I was like worried because I was like, do we really need that one?
No.
I didn't,
No, I think I like what you did. But I just think like you could do a 1950s version of this. You could do a Victorian version of this. Right. You could do, it's a good story.
Yeah.
It's a good story.
Yeah. And he got everyone intertwined. It definitely, that part, like, which I condensed down, it really did plot wise just kind of work together.
I would have liked more of Anna and Levin in the same place at the same time, because that would have made
that
Tolstoy
was a good scene,
wasn't
it?
A good scene.
Yeah, when he was like kind of like, and she wanted him to like her.
She was trying so hard.
Yeah,
and he did like her.
He did. Like that was a very real female who is insecure and wants and knows that she also took another guy from Kitty. Yeah,
and
it was very complicated.
Yeah. There are these really great scenes that Tolstoy writes for Anna. Again, I think the scenes that happen, I really liked. It was the commentary, like the inner monologue stuff, that I did not care for. And that, my friends, is why he should have had an editor who told him to cut all that shit, and it would have been a 200-page novel and we all would be happy. Okay, I think that we're done. We probably could do this for like 7 hours, but I know that nobody wants to listen to the 7-hour podcast on Anna Karenina, a spinoff show. But if you have not yet read Anna Kay and now Anna Kay Away, they're both in the world sorry if we spoiled Anna Kay a little bit. We didn't really tell you, but like if you read Anna Karenina, you know someone's gonna die. Right. So what are we talking about? But get Jenny's books wherever you get your books. Jenny, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
In person.
I know, it's so exciting.
And now we're gonna eat cake.
Yes.
So excited.
So much cake.
Susie Cakes, we love you. Please sponsor this podcast. All right, everybody, and we will see you in the stacks. Thank you all so much for listening and for reading along with us. And of course, a huge thank you to Jenny Lee for being my guest. Our June book club pick is The Undying, A Meditation on Modern Illness by Anne Boyer. This book won the Pulitzer Prize in Nonfiction in 2020, so you know it's good. We will discuss the book on Wednesday, June 30th, and you can tune in next Wednesday to find out who our guest will be. Please make sure you're subscribed to The Stacks wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you're listening through Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave us a rating and a review. For more from The Stacks, follow us on social media, The Stacks Podcast on Instagram and at The Stacks Pod _ on Twitter. And you can check out our website at thestackspodcast.com. Sebastian Alcala is our sound editor and producer. Our graphic designer is Robin McCrite, and our theme music is from Tigirigis. The Stacks is created and produced by me, Tracy Thomas.